Remarkable boy, I do admire your courage. I think I'll eat your heart. Okay, we are back, and it is way late. Sorry, work has been crazy. I've literally worked the past 16 days in a row. I wanted to get you this video on the weekend, but that didn't happen, so it's going to happen during the week, which means now I am one down, or excuse me, two down, because I was already one down. I'm going to be two down on my 52-week challenge, but rest assured, I'm sure at some point I will make it up. It will be easy. When work calms down a little bit and things calm down, I will make it up and get two videos in 1 week, twice, and then I'll be caught up. Anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked. I want to let you know that these videos, I haven't said this in a while, so my gimmick here, I'm not a... I'm one of those people who, like we say, we're our own worst judge or our own worst critic. And if I were to sit here and edit these videos, I probably would never ever post it because I would find all the little things wrong that with my performance or with my talking or with my points or with anything. I would find so many things wrong that I probably would never post it. So my gimmick here on YouTube, what makes me unique, is that these videos are completely unedited and unfiltered. So whatever comes out of my mouth is what comes out of my mouth. I will say adult things at sometimes. So if your kids are in the room, you probably want to ask them to leave or put your headphones on. And the other thing is, I want to let you know that there will be spoilers. I mean, I'm talking about movies here. There's going to be spoilers, especially for the movie that I'm reviewing. But sometimes I go off on tangents, as if you've been listening, you already know. And I will give spoilers for other things. But have no fear. I'll put a list of every single movie I mention in this video underneath the video. And you'll be able to see there's a header called spoilers, and you'll be able to avoid spoilers for whatever movies you might not have seen, which I'm assuming is what happened in the last video, because the last video I did, there has been 0 views. It was over a week ago, and nobody's watched it. So either I picked the wrong musical, and nobody's interested in that musical, or there may be spoilers for that musical that people haven't seen yet, so people haven't watched it. That is very possible. Anyway, tonight we are doing challenge number 28. Set during the decade you were born. Okay, so this is really easy. I mean, set during an entire decade you were born. Now, do they mean if you were born in 85, do they mean from 80 to 89? Or do they mean if you were born in 85, do they mean from 85 to 95? I don't know. But I did pick a movie. I was born in 1981, and I did pick a movie that was technically, it doesn't say anywhere, but it is technically, was written in 1988, is based on a book written in 1988, and so the author doesn't change the time, which means we're assuming that we are set in 1988. Without further ado, the film tonight is The Silence of the Lambs. I own all the books now. I believe my sister got it for me for Christmas one year, and I can't wait to read all of them. But years ago, when Red Dragon came out, I loved that movie so much. It blew me away so much. Not just the characters and the story. The story is amazing. But the performances. Oh my God, Ralph Fiennes is amazing in that movie. You know, everybody is great in that movie, but Ralph Fiennes really stands out. And so I fell in love with that movie so much more than this one. Than Silence of the Lambs. I love that story so much. I literally bought the book and read it and was blown away. The book is in my opinion so much better because you get that relationship between Dollarhide and his grandmother is just disgusting. It's horrible, and they go so much more into it in the book, which I love. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that I really like this movie, Silence of the Lambs, but I haven't read this one yet. I have the whole set, but haven't read it. I detested Hannibal. Didn't like it at all. Nothing about it I liked. Nothing about it I enjoyed. Didn't even want to watch it. When Hannibal Rising came out, I kind of liked it. I don't really remember it. I kind of want to see it again just to kind of figure out what it was I did and didn't like about it. But I'm waiting until I finish my I've said in another review, I'm on a Stephen King kick. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I have every single one of his books on hardback behind me. It ends like it's this entire shelf here, the entire case, and then half of this shelf here. It's all Stephen King. And I'm currently on reading all of his stuff in chronological order of publication. So I'm a little more than halfway through. Once I finish that, I'll be able to read other stuff. Harris's books, the Hannibal series, is definitely high on my list of things I want to read through, because the first one, Red Dragon, I loved and can't wait to read all of them successively through, all the way through. This is one of them, and then Hannibal, and then Hannibal Rising. So I want to see what it was that I loved, that I didn't like about the movie Hannibal. Is it different than the book? Am I not going to like the book? I don't know. I'll have to find out. Silence of the Lambs, another one, is going to be another one. When I read it, I'm like, is it richer? Is it better? I don't know. I can't wait to find out. So, Silence of the Lambs. Year released, 1991. Aspect ratio, 1.85:1. Running time, 1 hour and 58 minutes. Genre, crime, drama, thriller. Rated R. Of course it's rated R. Date challenge completed today, February 13th. Hopefully I can get the video tonight, but it is 10 o'clock, so I might not be able to get it for you tonight. It might be Wednesday the 14th, Valentine's Day. I'm not a big fan of Valentine's Day. Anyway, my rating is 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10. This movie is fantastic. Very few things I don't like about it. Very few flaws. Love it, love it, love it. Starring, too many people to put here. So, Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Scott Glenn, Ted Levine. Oh my God. Anthony Heald, Brooke Smith, Dana Baker. Tracy Walter is in this movie. I love Tracy Walter. I want to mention him every single time I can because he's a fantastic character actor and unfortunately doesn't always have enough to do. He's in another Jonathan Demme movie. I noticed there are several side characters in this movie that are in other Jonathan Demme movies. Philadelphia, and Tracy Walter is one of them. Charles Napier is another one. He's in this, he's in that. And some of the side characters like Roger Corman and there was a lawyer. It would take me too long to find it, but there was a lawyer on the one of the senator's aides or senator's lawyer or whatever. He's a lawyer in Philadelphia. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that Jonathan Demme, or Jonathan Demme, I don't know how it's pronounced. I've heard people say Jonathan Demme, and I've heard people say Jonathan Demme. So I'm not sure. Directed by Jonathan Demme or Jonathan Demme. He also did Philadelphia, and I noticed that some of the side characters or some of the background characters, what I would probably call SAG background characters, are the same. Okay, moving on. Produced by Ron Bozeman, Edward Saxon, Kenneth Utt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right at some point. Written by Thomas Harris. Like I said, he did the novel. Ted Talley did the screenplay. Music by Howard Shore. I forget when I watch this movie how wonderful the movie is. How wonderful the music is for the movie. It's not one of those soundtracks that I can just listen to like other things, like Howard Shore did, The Lord of the Rings. I can totally listen to that all day long. Don't have to watch the movie. The music is so great that I can just listen to it. This is not one of those soundtracks, but it perfectly fits this movie, and I forget that every time. But when I start the movie and the music starts, I'm going, oh yeah, this music fits perfectly. So he did a great job. Awards received. It received 5 Academy Awards. This was the big one that year. The 1992 Academy Awards for 1991 films. Now, I was 10 years old. 10 years old because the Academy Awards are normally in the beginning of the year. So I was 10 years old. I was not really paying attention to the Academy Awards, but years later when I look back on it, I go, wow, this was a big one for that year. It won Best Adapted Screenplay because it was adapted from a book. It won Best Director, Jonathan Demme or Demi. I don't know how it's pronounced. I would like to find out one of these days. Best Actress in a Leading Performance, Jodie Foster. Best Actor in a Leading Performance, Anthony Hopkins. Oh my God. And Best Picture. Now, when I look back at the list, when I did my review of JFK, I looked back at the list and went, oh, Silence of the Lambs won. Now, do I think that JFK was a better film than Silence of the Lambs? It's a hard one. That's a hard one. And then I look at the list and I go, have I seen everything else? I saw Beauty and the Beast, the Disney version. Yes, I saw that. Bugsy. Yes, I remember seeing that once, but I don't remember it well enough. Prince of Tides. I got that confused with, when I did my review, I said, oh yeah, I've seen that. I think I did, but I haven't seen it. Prince of Tides, I got confused with The Fisher King. For whatever reason, those two titles blurred in my mind. They have nothing to do with each other. They are not even the same actors, not the same year, not the same anything. But somehow, when I read The Prince of Tides in my review of JFK, what hit my mind was The Fisher King, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. So no, I have not seen The Prince of Tides with who is that? Barbara Streisand and I think it's Nick Nolte. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but I have not seen that. So I can't say with any real authority do I believe Silence of the Lambs should have won. It's hard enough to be like, do I think this should have won or JFK? Because I love both of these movies. I've probably seen JFK more times because I love it more because I'm a little more of a JFK enthusiast. But they're both fantastic films, and it's hard to be like, I might lean a little more towards JFK, a little bit more. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Why did you choose this particular film? Originally, it was on the poster that I had that you guys might not... Who knows if you remember or not, in my earlier reviews, there was a poster on the wall of the 100 movies that you should watch, or the 100 best rated movies on IMDb. I abandoned it because some of them were arbitrary, one. Because some of the movies on the list were no longer on the list on IMDb, so it's completely arbitrary. It depends on if you go on there and rate it or not. And so it had no basis in anything except for ratings at the time. So it kind of got a little frustrating. Plus, the poster was not working well. It was a really poorly made poster, and it was frustrating me every time I wanted to scratch one off that I had so I got rid of it because it got too frustrating, and there were too many of them on there that I was like, I don't even know how to find that movie to watch it. It's near impossible to find that movie to watch it. So I abandoned it. Anyway, it was this movie, Silence of the Lambs, was originally on that poster, and that's why I had it on my list to do it. In this one. Have you seen this movie before? Yes, I own it on Blu-ray. It's fantastic. I've seen it so many times. I was too young to see it in the theater, so I did not see it in the theater. Would you recommend this? Why or why not? I think it's brilliant. I think if you're an adult and you can get past, some of the a little more gritty, a little more graphic parts, then yes, this is a fantastic, movie. Brilliant performances. Some really cool camera work at some times. I've noted a couple of times where some of the camera work was really cool. But, is it... yes, you can say it's a classic, but it's one of those, do I feel like it's, Braveheart? Do I feel like it's that, great that, something monumental like that, Jurassic Park? Whether you like it or not, it really was a hallmark of film. Is this that? I think the performances are brilliant, but is it that? I don't know. But it's still absolutely worth recommending to anybody. It's just wonderful, wonderful. I skipped this question because I've said before, I don't love this question. Which character were you able to most identify with or connect with in which way? I couldn't find either one. I couldn't find one that I was like, I can connect with. Probably some side character, maybe, to, the janitor. I don't know. The janitor. He's not a janitor. The guy that lets her in, Barney, the guy that lets her in, Frankie Facian. Maybe somebody like him I could probably identify with, but I'm not going to waste that question on somebody so trivial, such a small part. He did such a great job, but it really is a small part, and there's not much to say about it. And who would I like to play? In this film, there's nobody that really screams out to me that I would love to play in this film. Could I play? I would enjoy playing Jack Crawford. That would be kind of fun. Would they cast me as Jack Crawford? Probably not. Never. And they would never cast me as James Gumb or Hannibal Lecter. Well, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, I skipped that question. But what I will say is before I watched Silence of the Lambs, I decided to watch Red Dragon. Again, because I love it so much. So I decided to watch Red Dragon and then watch Silence of the Lambs for this review. And every second of film, like, I would love to play Dollarhide, Francis Dollarhide. Oh my God. Okay, I cannot. When you read the book, and this is not a review of Red Dragon, I know I don't want to waste too much time, but I do want to say, when you read the book Red Dragon, his physical description is completely different than what you see Ray Fiennes. He is supposed to be muscular, like me. He is supposed to be an obvious, you look at him, he's obvious bodybuilder, like me. He's supposed to be short, which I'm not, but I'm definitely shorter than Ray Fiennes. I know Ray Fiennes is tall. He's supposed to be shorter and stouter and thick, and I can't remember if he was bald or not. I don't remember. That's inconsequential. What I'm saying is that the physical description of Francis Dollarhide in the book is completely different than the physical description of Ray Fiennes. Now, do I fault him for that? Absolutely not. He is fantastic in that film. He blows me away in that film. I loved him so much in The Red Dragon that when I heard he was going to be Tom Riddle, when I heard he was going to be what's the name you don't say? Oh my goodness. I'm not coming up with, I'm total blank. Tom Riddle is the only thing I can think of. Harry Potter. It's the only thing I can think. Voldemort. Why couldn't I come up with that name? So when I heard he was going to be that, I flipped my shit. Like, no joke. Because when the first movie came out, you didn't know who it was going to be. They used somebody else's voice. They used somebody else's computer face. He doesn't actually show up until, the fourth one? And finally, they're like, okay, we need to cast somebody. And when I found out they cast Ray Fiennes, I blew my shit. I literally watched the fourth movie like 6 or 8 times in the theater because of the end scene in the when he finally shows up, and the end scene in the cemetery it blew my mind so much. I watched it over and over and over in the theater so many times. I traveled 20 miles to see it one more time because nobody in my area was playing it. I was like, I need to see it one more time in the theater, and I literally traveled like 20 miles to see it again. Anyway, I'm going off on too many tangents, and I need to get to Silence of the Lambs. What I'm saying is, I would love to play that character. I can't fault him for the description. He did a fantastic job acting-wise, but he doesn't look the part. And if I were to take on that character, I would take on more of the physicality that he doesn't, because I can. And Dollarhide is that, and that's kind of, anyway. Not talking about Red Dragon, let's get back to Silence of the Lambs. I should do a review of Red Dragon, how much I love it and how much anyway. Best line or memorable quote, Silence of the Lambs. Of course, everybody knows. A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Everybody knows that line. How can you get away from that line? How can Anthony Hopkins get away from that line? You just can't. You can't get. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. The brilliance of his performance. I have notes. I'm not going to say it now, but there is another line, because this best line or memorable quote, that is a memorable quote. Absolutely. What is my favorite line is not that. My favorite line is later in the film, and I wrote a note, and I will tell you when it comes. Absolutely my favorite line. Love it. And I'll tell you. It's also by Hannibal. So, were you surprised by the ending? What would you do differently? What do you consider the ending? Okay, if you consider the very end the ending, when he calls her and he says, don't follow me or whatnot, was I surprised by that? No. Was I surprised that Hannibal Lecter escaped? Absolutely. I didn't know that was coming. I was surprised, and I loved that Hannibal Lecter escaped. Because that's not in my frame of like, why would I even think this movie is not about that? And so why would I even think at any point that Hannibal Lecter would get away? But then when he does, it's just like, oh my God. And the way he does is so shocking and wonderful. You're just like, holy shit. That was shocking. But technically, that's not the ending. There's a lot to do after that. He escapes like 20 minutes before the ending, at least. She has to get James Gum. I mean, they still have to get James Gum. Anyway, moving on. How well did the film capture the feel of the time period? Explain. There's nothing to explain. This movie was made in 1990. It was released in 1991. So you were at the tail end of the 80s, early 90s. The look, the feel, the music, everything was still late 80s. So did it capture the 80s? Of course it did. It wasn't trying to, but it did, because it was filmed right in the beginning of the 90s, which means it was just barely at the end of the 80s. So yes, I think it captured the 80s without trying. Anything else you'd like to say? I have plenty of notes, so we need to get to them. The little thing at the bottom says over 3,000 statuettes have been awarded since inception of the Academy Awards ceremony in 1929. That's an interesting 3,000. That is an interesting tidbit. What does that have to do with the decade you were born? What does that have to do with set during the decade you were... Okay, whatever. Normally they try to match it with the challenge, but I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Okay, moving on. I already said that. Let's move on. I love that the FBI training course looks like a university. Everything looks like a university. It's really cool. They're all matching outfits and the walls and everything looks university. Crawford. I have another note to this later. Here it's Scott Glenn. And so this is the first film that they made. So most people who grew up with Silence of the Lambs before Red Dragon came out, they know Scott Glenn as Crawford. And so when they made Red Dragon and they recast Crawford with Harvey Keitel, it was a little like, yes, I get a lot of times that we have to recast things. I know that. Jodie Foster did not want to do Hannibal because she was against some of the decisions, I guess, that they made for her character at the time, and she says she didn't want to do it because she didn't believe that her character would do certain things that they had her doing in the film, and so they recast it with oh man, her name is escaping me. I love her to death, and her name is escaping me right now. They recast it with she was in Magnolia. She's brilliant in Magnolia. I love her to death. Anyway, they recast it, and so when they did Red Dragon, again, they recast Crawford. So there are certain characters I wish they would stick with, but, Hollywood is Hollywood, actors are actors, sometimes they don't want to do it, and so it's a little jarring when you get, or like I've already mentioned, like in Harry Potter, when they had to recast Dumbledore because Richard Harris passed away. Things like that happen. Richard Harris did the first two, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, but then he passed away, and they had to cast Michael Gambon, in the third one, Prisoner of Azkaban. I think he did a great job eventually, but I think he was trying too hard in the beginning to fill somebody's shoes. And why do I go off on that tangent? Okay, Scott Glenn, I love him as Crawford. But he has a certain feel to him. I don't quite trust him. I have this note later, and I'm just going to say it now. I don't quite trust him. I think there is a manipulation behind what he does, and he's not letting you know that. When you watch Red Dragon, Harvey Keitel seems more trustworthy because he's manipulating you, but he's not being subtle about it, and then he agrees, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Why? Because that's my job. So I trust Harvey Keitel's character just more naturally than I trust Scott Glenn's character. They both have a completely different feel and great both have great performances, but a totally different Jack Crawford. Chilton. When Chilton comes on to Clarice, it's a little creepy. And I'm like, I guess they wanted that? I don't know. Would it, in real life, would that be a creepy? Why do we think that's creepy? That Chilton, because naturally I feel it's creepy. Maybe you don't. When he kind of makes a pass at her a little bit, like what did he say? Smart of Jack to send somebody so attractive as you, or something like that. He says something like that. And we feel a little creepy. I don't know if you do, but I do naturally. I'm like, why would you even, this is a professional situation. Why would you even, but then again, I think about it. Like if you found somebody attractive, why wouldn't you put that feeler out there? Because you never know what could happen, right? And she could be attracted to him. Who knows? And something could flourish or not. So why is it that naturally I feel creepy? Why? Because it's a professional situation and he shouldn't do that? I don't know. But if you shouldn't do that at that point, when do you? I don't know. It's an interesting feeling that naturally I feel creeped out by that, but why? When the nurse leaned over at him, he did this to her. I love that he shows her the picture of what Hannibal did to this nurse, and we never see it. We see it through her shock, Clarice's shock. The way she looks at it, she is stunned by it. Of course, he explains they were able to reset her jaw and blah, blah. So we can imagine what's there, but what's even better than his description is Clarice's reaction to it. Really, really well done. I don't need to see it. We don't need to see the picture. It's perfectly fine. Lightning in a bottle. Why did I write this note? You are... When you make a film like this, and it's the first, and you don't know if it's going to succeed, and you didn't start at the beginning of the story, you started on book 2. Literally, the books go Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Hannibal Rising. I'm almost positive. Yes, that's how they go. Okay, so you didn't start at the beginning of the story that was written. You started with the second book. Okay, and you don't know if this is going to succeed or not. You have no idea. You know, you have some good actors. You have a director that, you know, how much has he done before? How much hasn't he done before? You get, you know, a screenwriter. You get a great musician. You get a great, you know, you do as much as you can to create something. Then these actors look at this script and say, I'm going to create a character along with the director, along with the writer. I'm going to create the director. Because the writers put it all down on paper. But the actor has to portray it, okay? So the actor still has creative control. Also, the director has a say in what you are doing and how you are doing it. Okay, so the actor has creative control to a point, but so does the writer and so does the director. So when I'm creating this character, I don't know if people are going to like it or not. I don't know if it's going to come across. I don't know if this film is going to be successful. You're not thinking that. You're just thinking, let's create a character. Why do I say all of this? Anthony Hopkins is fucking brilliant in this movie. And you see it in every nuance of his performance. It is like gold. It is like lightning in a bottle. Once in a lifetime. It is like, holy shit. And you're like, no wonder he won the Academy Award. There's no way anybody could have touched him. Yes, Robert De Niro is a fantastic, wonderful, amazing actor, and Cape Fear was a great movie, and he did such a wonderful job. He creeps me out. Okay? Oh my God, Fisher King was the same year as Prince of Tides. That's why I get them confused. I said earlier in the video, I said they're not the same year. They were the same year. They were both up for Best Leading Actor. Nick Nolte, Prince of Tides, and Robin Williams, Fisher King. Okay, interesting. Maybe that's why I keep mixing them up. Anyway, that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is I love Robin Williams. His performance in The Fisher King is nowhere near Anthony Hopkins. I love Nick Nolte. He's done some great work, but I don't even think him as an actor could get anywhere near. I don't know. I haven't seen The Prince of Tides, but he does not seem like an actor who could stand up with as great a performance as Robert De Niro or Anthony Hopkins could give. Warren Beatty and Bugsy, I don't remember his performance being that great. I did see it once. I don't remember his performance being outstanding. But Robert De Niro in Cape Fear was amazing. But Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs is... What does the category actually say when they get a outstanding achievement in? And he was outstanding. Outstanding achievement in acting in a leading role is what they say. I believe that's how they say it. Oh my God. And what's sad is when you watch The Red Dragon, as much as I love it, he is revisiting a character he's already played and trying to play the character instead of creating the character. And you can tell he's putting on the outfit. He's trying on the voice. He's the mannerisms. He is not creating like he created a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, creepy fucking character in Silence of the Lambs. He created every second of that. In Red Dragon, you can tell he is revisiting a character and trying to replay a character he has already created. And that's... oh man, it sucks. He does a good job. He does a really good job, but it's nowhere near the performance in Silence of the Lambs, where he is creating this character for the first time. And it's just the tension and just the little thing. Watch just the little subtle things in his performance is amazing. The way he looks, where he looks, how he looks, his stoned face. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Reinvent. Oh, reinvent. Terminator 2 was extremely successful because they didn't try to redo the original. They reinvented what we want to do. Instead of Schwarzenegger's character, the T-800, instead of that character being the bad guy, as it is in the first one, out to kill Sarah Connor, he is the protector going back to save John Connor. Okay, one of the successful things about making a sequel is not remaking the first one, but reinventing it. Red Dragon didn't do that. Now, is that the fault of the filmmaker? I haven't read Silence of the Lambs, so I don't know how close the story is to Red Dragon. Are all the pieces the same? Did Thomas Harris write a book that followed the same pattern, only different storyline, and it's his fault that the story is not reinvented? I don't know. When I read it, I'll find out. But when I watch Red Dragon, I feel like all the same things, it's basically just being reinvented. Or excuse me, redone, not reinvented. And that's why I feel like the second one wasn't as successful as it could have been. I love it. I do. Personally, because I love the story. It's amazing. But overall, it wasn't nearly as successful. Anthony Hopkins creeps me out in Silence of the Lambs. He does not creep me out in Red Dragon. Who creeps me out in Red Dragon is Dollarhide, is Ray Fiennes. He creeps me out. Holy shit. He creeps me out and makes me want to be him at the same time, which is even creepier. Anyway, their first interaction in Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal and Clarice. Oh my fucking God. It's amazing. And this whole point that I've been talking, that all this acting and all this back stuff, it's all leading up to this interaction between them. They are both brilliantly creating two new and amazing characters who this is their first collaboration. This is their first on-screen time together. This is their first interaction together, and it is amazing. When she goes to see him, her trying not to be the student, but she is. She's not real FBI. He knows that. He's not dumb. His little nuances, his little performances, closer. The voice. He's not putting on a voice and putting on a hat and putting on a suit. No, he is creating, and that creation created that voice and created that his mannerisms and where he looks. Because literally, watch his performance. He is looking straight in her eyes and says, he's not looking at the badge. Multiple times, he says, closer, and he's constantly looking directly in her eyes. He doesn't give a shit about the badge. And once he's got her close enough, then you watch his eyes. Then he looks down at the badge. He doesn't know how fucking close the badge is. He doesn't care. He just wants her closer. He does not lose eye contact until she's where he wants. He does not lose eye contact. She's where he wants her. Then he moves his eyes down to the badge to read it. And then he's like, that expires in 2 weeks. Watch the performance. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Him wanting to be closer has nothing to do with her badge or not being able to read it or being able to read it. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care. It's just amazing. The camera angle. So as a kid, I didn't understand the whole, when she leaves, he's not going to help her. Or so we think. She goes to leave, and Miggs throws something in her face. As a kid, when I first saw this, when I was younger, I didn't get what that was. Later on, you find, okay, I get that it's cum. He jerked off, he came, and he threw it in her face. And so, obviously, it freaks her out. It's disgusting. But it also pisses off Hannibal Lecter. And he come back, Clarice. Fine, I'll help you. What he did was despicable. It's despicable to me, and I would not have had it happen. I'll help you. Okay, this brilliant. Talk about the tension. Why is there tension here? She's completely safe. There's no reason to be at rush. He says something about, he may be crazy, but he might be able to manage again. So he's thinking he might have more to throw at her later. But really, how much is that going to hurt you? But the music, the tension, the energy, and it just makes us like we're so on the edge of our seat because we're like, so there's something at stake here, but there isn't anything at stake here, which they do really well in films. There's nothing really at stake here, but there is. We're making it feel like that. And this brilliant camera angle looking up as he's got his arms like this or something like that, and he's like leaning against the wall, and that camera angle going up where she's coming. There's a there's a vulnerability. There's a observance and a vulnerability in that camera angle that's so great. And we see that he has nothing to hide. He is literally splayed. He has his arms kind of like this. He has nothing to hide. He's not trying to manipulate her. He's not trying to hurt her. She has nothing to fear from him. And from what he says is, I will help you advance. And he gives her clues and says, go now, go. There's no rush to go, but we feel that there is. They've created that in that scene. Wonderful, wonderful. I love that scene. Love it. Camera shot movement when she goes back. Oh, okay. She leaves. She checks out the storage unit. She finds Raspel. She goes back. When she goes back, this is after she finds out that Miggs has died. He killed Miggs. What does Crawford say? The orderly heard Lecter whispering to him all night, and then he ate his tongue or something like that. Or swallowed his own tongue. Miggs swallowed his own tongue. That's what it was. Okay, so she knows he's killed Miggs. He's being punished. We find out later on he's being punished for that. Anyway, she goes back to visit him, and everything's dark. And everything's like his cell does not look the same. There's a TV there that's muted, but it's sitting there pointing his direction. I love the camera angle sweeping, the searching, and we don't see anything. It's dark. We can't see anything. We don't see Hannibal. And she's sitting there and then pops out the tray with the towel. And then he starts talking to her, and then we're like, whoa, I love that they did that. It's such a great idea. I wouldn't have thought of that. You have a tiny little cell. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's a brilliant idea. To hide Hannibal Lecter, even though we know he's there. But she's in a very vulnerable state. So her demeanor has completely changed between the two. She only met him once. And between then and now, her demeanor and her reaction towards him is completely different. We trust him. Why? The character development is really well done. Really well done. That's why this movie won Best Picture, probably. I mean, it really is. As much as I love JFK, it is really, really well done film. It's really well done. When he says something about Crawford, do you imagine that Crawford likes you, imagines you and him exchanges, fucking each other? I love this line when she says, "That doesn't interest me, Doctor." And frankly, it's the sort of thing that Miggs would say. And he says, "Not anymore." I already mentioned her demeanor has completely changed towards him. She has that trust, that vulnerability where she's sitting there when she meets him the second time. This shows her assertiveness with Hannibal. She's no longer placating him. She's no longer, please help us, please help us. She's more assertive now. She's definitely not the boss. She doesn't feel that way, no. But she's definitely pushing back. Like, no. I don't want to play your game. That doesn't interest me. Let's get to the point. Let's move on. She's being more assertive. I love that. Because in that first exchange, she's not. Now we get that she's holding her own against, not intellectually, but emotionally, she's holding her own against Hannibal Lecter, which is nice to see. She has this line. After that scene, she's in the car with Crawford going to see the body that they found. And he says, "What do you see? give me your impressions, I guess, of who Buffalo Bill is. And she starts listing off like what he might be, what her profile of him would be. And she has this line, serial killers tend to hunt within their own ethnic groups. And, you know, every other time she said this, it never really, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. No, I never had any question, never even thought about it. Okay, serial killers tend to hunt in their own ethnic groups. Okay, fine, yeah, okay, whatever. Now that we have that show, Dahmer, which I found so well done on so many levels, acting, production-wise, just everything, story, production value, everything was just so well done. Dahmer is probably one. There are 3 serial killers that I can think of that are the most notable, prominent, and famous. Famous, if you want to say. Dahmer, Gacy, Bundy. Those are the 3 that just pop in my mind. Those are the big ones. Dahmer is number 1. That's the one I think of. Dahmer did not hunt within his own ethnic group. So I find this line about serial killers tend to hunt within their own ethnic, and the most famous of serial killers there is, Jeffrey Dahmer, did not. Most of his victims were African American or Asian American. There was one white guy, maybe two. I can't remember. One. I know the first one was white, but I don't remember if there was a second one or not. Most of them were African American or Asian American. And so I was like, that's an interesting, now that we have that show and My Friend Dahmer, the film My Friend Dahmer, which I loved, which is about his childhood more than his adulthood. You know, now that we have these films that talk about what he was like and what he did, I'm like, wow, that is totally not on par with Dahmer. Anyway, moving on. If I would have sent you in there with an actual agenda, Lecter would have toyed with you. What Lecter would have known to interest you instantly. He would have toyed with you and then turned to stone. Oh, here's my note about trust. Here's my note about trust, and I already said that. Scott Glenn and Harvey Keitel have portrayed 2 different Jack Crawfords. I trust Harvey Keitel's Jack Crawford. There is no point, at no point do I trust Scott Glenn's Jack Crawford. Never. Never at all. Okay, moving on. Clarice's examination of the body is so beautifully reminiscent of Hooper in Jaws when he examines the body. I love... There are very few movies where we have this scene where we're examining a body, and I feel like this one is a very reminiscent of the 2, where she's listing off the things that's going on. She's smarter. She sees things that people don't see. I love that she's the one that catches the little things about the nail polish, about, the stuff under her nails, the earrings. I love that she's the one who catches that there's something in her mouth. She's like, there's something in the mouth, and then they pull it out. She is the one who catches that, not them. I love that. And I have a note later on that she catches something else. I'll say it. I have a note later on. I love that. That's a great little exchange. I like that she's the one, she has to struggle to be a woman in the FBI. She, they dismiss her earlier, and then she kind of holds her own when she asks everybody to leave the room. They finally do. And later on, she brings it up to Jack Crawford, like, it's not okay for you to tell me. He says, what? When I asked you to leave the room, that really burned you up. Yeah, because they look at you as how to act. So she tries to she tries to stand up for herself, being a woman in the FBI, being a woman in the 80s, and I like that. But we obviously know that she is smarter than most of the people in the room because she's figuring these things out. Oh, the intensity of this. So now that she needs help, I know he gives her that little, like, because Miggs did that to you. It was unspeakable. I'll help you a little bit with advancement. I'll give you some insight into Buffalo Bill. She comes back and he says, check out yourself. So she does. She figures it out. She decodes it. She finds the storage place. She comes back. She asks him about it. So we are not yet at the point where she's like, I need help with this case, because she's not involved with the case. But when she does become involved with the case, actually involved with the case, and she goes to Hannibal and says, I need help. That's the scene. Oh my God, I love the intensity of that scene, because now he knows she needs him. But wait, I'm not just going to give it to you for free. What do I get? And this, oh my God, you need to tell me things about you. I want to know about you, not about the case. Wow. I love that he turns his face. She's here. And he's talking to her at first. And then he says, I want you to tell me things, not about the case. And he starts to ask her stuff, but he's not looking at her. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that he's not facing her when he wants to hear about her personally. He wants to hear her voice. He wants to hear the inflections. He wants to focus on the story. He doesn't want to look at her. Love it. I love it. And I love when he says, and don't lie or I'll know. He will know, because he's listening harder now. He's paying more attention to your voice and what you're saying. Oh, so I said in the last exchange, she got more assertive when she was like, frankly, that doesn't interest me, doctor. It's something that Miggs would say. Yes. Here we get another glimpse of she's even more assertive. She becomes even more assertive. And it's like a fencing match. Parry and joust, parry and joust. And we finally see that she's maybe not intellectually, fucking nobody intellectually is on the same level as Hannibal Lecter. But, and I have a note to that later, but she is physically, emotionally keeping up with him. Hit for hit, hit for hit. And I love this part when she's telling him about the ranch. I woke up, I heard the lambs. Oh no. His uncle. What was your uncle? Did he molest you? She said, no, he was a decent man. Quid pro quo. She turns it right. I'm not giving you the whole answer. I'm not telling you why I left. That's what it was. It's not about the lambs yet. That's later. Here is where she's like, I left. He said, why did you leave? Did he molest you? Did he make you perform fellatio? She says, no, he was a decent man. Boom. I'm not telling you what you want. What you want is, why did I leave? I'm not telling you. What I want is something from you. And I love she turns it on. She's turning it on him quick, real quick. And when she does that, quick pro doctor, we don't switch back to him. He comes in the reflection. This gives me goosebumps. It literally gives me goosebumps. Quick pro, no, he was a decent man. Quick pro quo doctor, she's joust. So you feel the tension and the greatness of, like, joust. And he comes in the reflection. He shows up. Instead of turning to him, instead of cutting to him, he pops up in the reflection, and he is just as intense in that reflection, that piece of a reflection. He is just as intense and is like, oh, it gives me goosebumps. It is so amazing. Love that shot. He is so, the performances. This is nothing like Red Dragon. He is amazing in this. There's that part in Red Dragon where he runs up to and tries to get Will to like freak out. I get it. I get what we're trying to do. This is a hell of a lot more effective. This creeps me out. When he shows up in the reflection, he's just as intense, and I'm like, I don't want to be in the cell with him. That's how I feel. Because we're on that side of the cell as the audience. And I'm just like, I don't want to be in the cell with him. Oh, I love that scene. We see his reflection. Like, I don't want to be right there next to him in the cell with him, because that's where we are. Okay. Moving on. It puts the lotion on his skin, or else it gets the hose again. I love that he's constantly referring to her as it. Who is it? Catherine Martin in the Hole. He refers to her as it all the time. I love that disassociation with himself. He's disassociated with a lot. He, like Hannibal says, he has a lot of mental issues. Anyway, I love that he refers to her as it. It puts the lotion in the basket. Yeah, all of that. I do find it disappointing when we find out Clarice lied to Hannibal about the senator, the deal with the senator. We find that out later. I am a little disappointed that Clarice would be involved with that. And later on he asks her, was that your idea? And she says, yes. The Plum Research Island, was that your idea? And she says, yes. And that was a good idea. He admires the craftiness of it. He admires it. But I, as the audience, am a little disappointed that Clarice would be involved with that. It doesn't shock me that Jack Crawford would be involved with that, but it does shock me a bit that Clarice would be involved with that. I got to kind of let that go, But I am, every time I watch it, I'm a little disappointed that she's involved with that deception. Okay. Here is my favorite line of the whole movie. It is one of those lines that every time I hear, I just that's one of the best fucking lines in cinematic history. It's not I'll be back. It's not, no, I am your father. It's not that, where it's a short line that everybody remembers, everybody knows, but it's a line that every time I watch it, I'm like, fuck, I love that line. Love it. Brilliant written, brilliant performed. It's just amazing. When he says, amputate a man's leg and he can still feel it tickling. Tell me, Mom, when your little girl is on the slab, where will it tickle you? I'm just... Yeah! Take this thing back to Baltimore. Oh my God. I love that line. It is like the line of fire when Clint Eastwood says, you've got a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker. Like, there's just some lines that are just like, yeah, this is not to be or not to be, but it is just fantastic. Like, yeah, that's the line. Say it again. Oh, man. Anyway, that is my favorite line, not the fava bean line. The fava bean line is the most memorable, yes, but this one... When your little girl is on the slab, where will it tickle you? Oh my God. That's the best. Oh, and Senator, one more thing. Love the suit. This is why this character is timeless. This is why this character is, they had to make more. I mean, Anthony Hopkins created, you may or may not know this. I'm assuming that some people who are cinematic nuts like me will know. They did do a Hannibal movie before this. It was called Maneater. I think it was with Brian Cox, if I remember correctly. It was Hannibal. Did not do well whatsoever. This is the movie that made Hannibal Lecter famous. And it was partly because they started with a story that was relatable, a director that was really, really good, and some very powerful acting. Very, very powerful acting. And that is why this movie really stands out as this is what made Hannibal Lecter famous. And in large part, Anthony fucking Hopkins. Wow. Wow. But who wrote it? You know, who? I haven't read the book, so I don't know if all these wonderful lines are in the book. But Ted Talley, who did the screenplay, is he the one responsible for lines like the one I just said? Is he responsible for the fava line? Is he responsible fava bean line? Is he responsible for, you know? Well, just one more thing, Senator. I love the suit. Is he responsible for these things, or are they in the book? I don't know yet, but whoever's responsible for them has created such a great character, and Anthony Hopkins just fell into it 1,000% and made it amazing and believable. Okay, two more pages. Oh, anagrams. I am shit at anagrams. I don't understand how people can see that. And I love that she figures it out. Well, she figures it out two times. I think she figures out anagrams. I think there was one about the Moffat. I think there was one about, I can't remember. There was an anagram earlier, but then there's the anagram about Fool's Gold. I can't. I'm a numbers person. What is... Damn it, I do numbers, not words. I'm not a wordsmith. Why you do me like that? I love that line. I'm not, that is my sentiment. I am a numbers person. I am not a words person. I'm not a wordsmith, like he says. Like Percy says. Anyway, the fact that she can figure that out, I'm just like, holy shit, I don't understand that. They do that in other films too, where they move letters around and make anagrams, move the letters around and make something. Linoge, one of the most famous ones. I love, absolutely love Storm of the Century, and he, you know, Andre Linoge, he moves it around. It says Legion, you know. Anyway, anagrams don't make sense to me. I would never be able to figure it out. Okay. Oh my God. Everything you need to know is in the case files. Holy fucking shit. This happens in Silence of the Lambs. It happens to an even more impactful degree in Red Dragon. In this one, he tells her everything you need to know is in the files. But he's been working with her for a while, so we don't really get how quickly he figured it out. We do know that he figured it all out in this file. We know that he gives her she gives him the case file, and then all this stuff happens, and then later on she gets it back from him, which I have a note later on, like, why the fuck did he have it that long? Anyway, she gets it from him. So he's had it a while. So he's had it and been able to go through it, and it's pretty thick. But still, he figured it out from the case file. But we also know he had some insights already. He already kind of knew who this was, because his first clue to her about Moffat is before she asks anything about Buffalo Bill, before she has the case file, before any of that. So he's already semi-connected to the situation, so he already knows some things. The brilliance is Red Dragon. When Will brings him a file, and he says, I need 1 hour and privacy. And you're like, wait, what? 1 fucking hour. Will takes the file back from him. Everything else that Hannibal knows throughout the entire film is from that 1 hour with the file. And he knows everything. He's figured everything out. He already knows how to find him. He knows everything. Fucking brilliant. Brilliant. The level of brilliance that this man has is insane. It reminds me of Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave from a box of scraps. It reminds me of that. Like I'm not Tony Stark. Of course you're not. I love the brilliance of this character is beyond measure. We don't even want to measure it. We just hint at it. And you just have to be like, holy shit, this Hannibal Lecter is insanely brilliant. Insanely brilliant. And it makes even more an impact when he knows that he is beyond her brilliance. When she's questioning him that last time, when he's in that that weird cell on the 3rd or 4th floor of that building. And she sneaks in. She lies to 2 different people to try to get in. She sneaks in to see him, to give him his paintings back. And she's trying to get information from him again. And he says something about how do we learn to covet? And he specifically says, make an effort to answer now. This line is so misunderstated for so many people. When he says that, make an effort to answer now, he knows he is so far beyond her brilliance. He understands things that she'll never understand. His intelligence is at a much higher level. But that's not what this is about. He understands that Clarice is a good person, true to herself, and that she would be a good FBI agent. He knows that, even though she might not know it. And he's trying to help her advance because she's a woman and she's not going to be able to on her own. And he understands that. You got to get. Hannibal Lecter is not after her. Hannibal Lecter doesn't want to kill her. Hannibal Lecter admires her tenacity and where she's come from and her integrity and wants to help her. The fact that she is nowhere near his intelligence, but he's still trying to help her is such a great dichotomy, such a great interaction between these two. I love it. I wonder if all of that is in the book. I wonder if all of that is explained in the book, or if more insights to their relationship is in the book. Is she in they put her in the next movie, Hannibal, but is she in the next book? I don't know. I can't wait to read them. Oh, that's when I wrote the note. Then he gives her back the case file, and I'm like, holy shit, he's had it all this time? Like, how long has this been? And she sneaks in to see him. She doesn't ask for the case file right away. How is she supposed to explain that she doesn't have this case file anymore? It's an interesting thing that when he gives it back to her and you realize he's had it all this time, then you're like, wait, how is she supposed to explain that she doesn't have it? How is she supposed to get it back? She snuck in. You know, all these questions pop up in my mind like, whoa, that doesn't seem right. Anyway, his pulse never got above 85. So I talked about that when Chilton says, when the nurse leaned over him, he did this, and he shows Clarice the picture, and we don't see the picture, but we get from her reaction. I had that note earlier in this video. He has that line at that part. He says his pulse never got above 85. He did all this, you know. I love that is that really ready when you are, Agent Pemry? Is that a foreshadow to this point? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But because of that line, this scene is so much more brilliant. When he escapes, when he takes them on, and you see the calmness in his face, even though he's hitting Lieutenant Boyle, like killing him, even though he's bitten Pemry already, and yet he's still real cool and calm and like chill, and he's listening to the music. So that line feeds the emotion of this scene. It's so well done. Like, his pulse never got above 85, and now we're showing it. Oh, I love the camera angle at this point. The second time he says, ready when you are, Agent Pemry. When he's already killed Boyle, Pemry's trying to get away. He's listening to the music, and then we have that camera angle, such an unorthodox camera angle, from a bird's eye view almost. The top of his head. We don't see him, his face, and he's talking and he's moving and he's looking around for something, and then he finds the knife and he goes, oh, this'll work. And how he's so sweet and nonchalant about he opens it halfway and then clicks it. Ready when you are, Agent Pemberton. Just his demeanor. I mean, again, Anthony Hopkins' performance is amazing. But that camera angle is really cool. Like watching it, we don't move. It's almost like we're watching it through a security cam. It's a really neat shot. Really smart, really neat shot. When he escapes. So, I was 9 or 10 when this movie came out. Because depending on the month it came out in 91. So depending on the month it came out, which sometimes I can find that on IMDb and sometimes I can't. Release date, February. Okay, so I was 9. Oh, this... I did not know this. I did not plan this. From my reaction, you can probably tell. Release date was February 14, 1991. I am literally going to post this video on the anniversary to the day, Valentine's Day, to the day it was released in 1991. That's cool. I didn't know that. Didn't plan it. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so I was 9 years old when this movie came out. Obviously, I did not see it in the theater. I was late to this movie. Way late to this movie. Okay, I saw The Cable Guy, Jim Carrey. Fucking love that movie. That movie made me love Jim Carrey. I was not a big fan of Jim Carrey before that. That movie made me love him. Loved it. And then since then, I've been a big fan of Jim Carrey. Anyway, I saw Cable Guy plenty of times before I saw Silence of the Lambs. Cable Guy came out in 96. I'm not going to look it up. Silence of the Lambs came out in 91. I think Cable Guy came out in 96. It's an hour 11. I don't want to look it up. So I didn't get his Silence of the Lambs. Hello, Clarice. You know, I didn't get it. I was like, okay, it was funny. He's just being goofy. I didn't get it. I didn't get the reference. It didn't make any sense. When I finally saw this movie, I did not have Cable Guy on the brain. When I finally saw this movie, this part shocked me. I was like, whoa! The fact that he switches places with Pemry, the fact that he cuts his face off and uses it and goes in the ambulance, the fact that he fakes a seizure to get them to take him to the ambulance, it's fucking brilliant. No wonder other movies, reference it. It's insanely brilliant. And creepy, too. Yeah, it is creepy. Oh, my God. I was shocked. This shocked me. When I first saw it, holy shit. And then I remembered, oh, my God, that's what Cable Guy... Oh, I get it. I get it now. I get it. So, like I said, do I consider that what do you consider the ending? That absolutely shocked me, but that's not the ending. That's like 20 minutes till the ending. There's a lot to go. I only have a few notes, but there's a lot to go, So when Clarice is investigating, who is it? Frederica's house. When she's investigating it, she finds the Polaroids behind the music box or whatever, behind the back of the music box. I wonder what that's about. Is that in the book? Or did the director say, I want her to find it there because only a woman would think of where to hide something like that. And she's a woman. Obviously, the dad says that the police have been there multiple times and they've been all through this and nothing's ever come of it. But she finds evidence that no one has ever been able to find. Why? I'm wondering why. Because she's a woman? And she understands where a woman would hide something? I think they did that in 8mm too. Where, oh no, because I was a man finding a woman's... It was Nicolas Cage finding her diary in the tank of the toilet in a bag, in a Ziploc bag. And no one else even thought to look there, and he did and found it. But he is a man looking in a woman's place. This is different. This is a woman looking in a woman's stuff, and I wonder if that was a point he was trying to make, that a woman would know where a woman would hide things in the back of the music box. Or are we simply, or is that all just bullshit, and we're simply trying to show that Clarice Starling is smarter than local fucking police? Which we've already pointed that out multiple times in the investigation of the body scene, that she's definitely smarter. You know, we've already pointed this out multiple times throughout the film, that she's following clues. She has more intuition. She's following smarter details than the local police or anybody else. So I thought that was very interesting, a very interesting idea to think about, that she finds evidence that no one else has been able to find. How? Because she's smarter, because she's paying more attention, or because she's a woman, and she would relate to that. I don't know, but it's a really good scene. Ted Levine, I think it's Levine. Holy shit, his performance as James Gum is far beyond any other performance that I've ever seen him do, ever. Now I'm not a huge fan of Ted Levine. Like, I don't go out seek his films to watch, but I've seen a handful of stuff that he's done and been like, he's done a really good job, but nothing like this. Nothing like this. The one that sticks in my mind is like Heat. I love him in Heat. He does a really good job in Heat, but it's nothing compared to this. This character, this performance, like, wow. And Jodie Foster. Okay, but I do have to say, some of Jodie Foster's other performances are just as brilliant. I mean, Taxi Driver. Oh my God, you really have to. This is not bullshit. This is not. She did not get the Academy Award nomination for Taxi Driver for no fucking reason. She got it because she will blow you away in Taxi Driver, and she does. Me, absolutely. Holy shit. I didn't see Taxi Driver until well into my adulthood, so the movie had been out for who knows how long, so I was not impacted like when it first came out. And I had seen plenty of what Jodie Foster has done before I saw Taxi Driver, but still, when I see Taxi Driver, when I first saw it, I still was blown away by her performance. Like, holy crap. Wow. Well into my adulthood. I was probably in my 30s before I finally saw Taxi Driver. And I had seen this plenty of times before that. Plenty of times. And still, Taxi Driver blew me away. But this performance is amazing too. The shakiness of her of her character when she tries to arrest James Gum, just the intensity and the shock and the scare. She's never been in a situation like this. Not only has she not been in a situation like this, but she's on her own. There's nobody else there. She's here with a dangerous serial killer. I mean, it's not just that we understand that her performance should be that way. She's not a seasoned FBI agent who can keep her emotions under check and do the job. She's wrapped up in all of it, and her performance shows it. Her shakiness and her breathing, her breathing. Oh my God, her breathing and everything is just wonderful performance. Who else was nominated for? I know this is a long review. Who else was nominated along with Jodie Foster? Gina Davis and Thelma and Louise. Okay. Wow. Okay. Laura Dern and Rambling Rose, I didn't see. Bette Midler and For the Boys, didn't see. Susan Sarandon and Thelma and Louise. Wow. Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon both got nominated in leading actress for Thelma and Louise. I'm surprised they didn't take one of those and put it in supporting, like they do with everything nowadays. Almost everything. Everything nowadays. That's a little shocking. But I haven't seen Rambling Rose or For the Boys, so I can't say 100%, but I love Thelma and Louise. Very good movie, very good performances, but Jodie Foster is like... her performance in this is so far beyond their performance in that, in my opinion. Wow. I love the night vision that quick scene with the night vision, and we're almost running into her, and she has no idea. Such a great idea to do that. The intensity of it when he reaches out to her and almost touches her, and she has no idea he's there. Oh my God, such a great shot. And is that how did they do that? Does she really not know that he's there, or is her performance that good that we feel that? You know, on set, could she see that Ted Levine was there or not? It's a great performance. The shot in the dark when he clicks it and she just turns and shoots. Great reaction, great timing. Love it. I love that she shot him in the dark like that. It's great. Stupid dumbass side note, but after she captures and all that's done, and they have that ceremony when she gets her badge, and then they go to the party and they cut the cake, the big FBI cake. Oh, I want cake so bad. I haven't had cake, and so I'm like, oh, I want a piece of cake. Oh, I want a piece of cake. And that cake looks so good. And they cut such a large slice of that cake. I'm just like, oh, I want that cake. It looks so good. I'm having an old friend for dinner. I love that line. That is a great line to more or less end the movie on. Double entendre. Fun. So fun. This movie is great. Silence of the Lambs is wonderful. I'm assuming you've already seen it because you've watched the review. But if you haven't, I would definitely suggest. For the performances alone, fantastic. Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. If you clue out to half the movie and just pay attention to their performances, it's still absolutely 1,000% worth it. Just wow. Okay, Silence of the Lambs. I will get you another video as soon as possible. I will not get another video behind, I am sure. So we'll try to get you one within the next week. Talk to you soon.